and welcome back to another episode here at the Damage Report. Big old Thursday, day of the news, and we're joined by none other than Benjamin Dixon. Ben, how's it going?
It's going great, John. How are you? It's good to be back.
I'm good, glad to have you back. I know you've been off doing a ton since the last time we spoke. Yeah. The news is what it is. You go to war with the news you've got, not necessarily the news you want. Absolutely. But we're always glad to have you here, and I can see there's already a ton of your face appearing in the emojis, so people are very excited to see you.
I have an emoji. Hang on.
You do actually over on Twitch.
Oh.
I don't know,
on
but
Twitch.
It's there.
On Twitch, yes, on Twitch.
Exactly, yeah. Well, everyone, whether you're on Twitch, YouTube, wherever you're watching, I know there's a lot of different platforms. Thank you for being here. Please hit the like button and share the stream if you haven't already, so that people know we're live. And as we go through this hour of news, in which we will give you updates on Daunte Wright, Derek Chauvin, big updates there. What's going to be going on in the Senate? What's not going to be going on in the House? All of these are really fun stories that'll give you a lot of added faith in your political leadership. How effective is the vaccine? We've got some new data there. And how much does tax cheating actually withhold from the government? New numbers, they're big numbers, okay? The biggest numbers, amazing numbers. We'll have them for you a little bit later on. But before that, I have an announcement. Many of you who are in the pre-show might already know about this, but you all asked, and we promised months ago, but now we have it. The second edition Dragon Squad t-shirt now with green dragon. I think we've got a full one there. You can see it in both traditional and women's tee varieties there. Of course, you can still get the old school red one if you want. That's the original, that's classic. This is new Coke, new green Dragon Squad shirt. And I'm wearing one. We've got a Marissa is wearing one as well. It's awesome. I love it in green. And this also not only means you can get it in green, but it means we're one step closer to the rainbow dragon that it was foretold by prophecy. So head over to shoptyt.com and you can pick up the new Dragon Squad 2.0 shirt. I love that they've termed it 2.0. It makes me wonder what like 3.0 and 7.0 is gonna be. Very excited. Ben, we're gonna have to send one out to you.
Hey, yeah, send one. I would rock it all day long.
When are we gonna get a squirrel shirt?
You know what? We have to see about it, man.
Okay,
I don't do a lot of swag, but we should start doing it. You're right.
Yeah, it took us a long time, but it's fun. I like it. I like wearing this, and I want to just see them in the wild. When I'm out there again.
Now that'd be amazing.
Yeah. Also wanted to let you know that if you are on Twitch after our show, the fun doesn't end because we then leave the Dragon Squad and we enter the land of Wozniak with Wozni Lambre, who's gonna be talking about news and entertainment. Twitch.tv/TYT 2:15 Pacific time, PM Eastern time, 11:15 Pacific time. Right after this program, you can stick around and join Wozni Lambre. Should be a lot of fun. So that'll be coming up soon. That said, Ben, why don't we jump? I'm seeing in the chat talk about green versus red warring factions. Oh no,
oh boy.
Oh no, it has begun. Factionizing of the Dragon Squad. Anyway, we're gonna have to get some more colors in there. Exactly. Everything on the internet is so tribal. Which dragon is more left, red or green? Let's fight about it. Anyway,
it's got to be the rainbow dragon.
Probably. We're gonna work on that. Okay, with that, let's jump into this news. There's no police killing of a black man, no matter how needless, how tragic, that Fox News won't find some way to make about something other than the police getting it wrong, no matter how wrong, how insanely wrong the police were. So we've got some video from Fox and Friends of them responding to this. So hold on to your butts, you're about to be enraged. We're about to get Pete Hegseth blaming Daunte Wright for his own death. But before we get to that, there is something that Fox is mad about in this story. Take a look.
She now has to have fencing and concrete barriers around her house to protect her and her husband.
Yeah, there was a protester. Did y'all see this? He had a pig head on a stake, and the police hat was on the pig head with an apple in the pig's mouth. There it is right there. Some protesters.
Absolute demonization of law enforcement is what you see from the other side of this movement. And to hear Ben Crump, the attorney, stand at the podium and say, this was an intentional act.
He said it was deliberate.
He said it was deliberate. That is throwing gasoline on a fire.
That is like throwing gasoline like on a fire that you'd put like a pig's head on. This is a barbecue scale situation here. Ben, they got Piggly. They got Piggly, Ben. That's the true tragedy here, Ben. They had a pig's head and they held it aloft like the lords of the flies. Maybe they'll begin to worship the pig head.
We've seen wilder things. We saw them worship the golden Donald Trump at that last convention. So, but that said, like Fox News is here to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to keep conservatives upset about anything but the truth. And the truth in this matter is, I don't care what type of protests the people give in response to police killing us. It is an appropriate protest. What needs to stop is not the protest, or not people calling police pigs, or using pigs with apples in their mouths, or whatever they're complaining about. What has to stop is the killing of black people, or killing of the people by the state, period.
Yeah, exactly. But I do want to make an early prediction. So someday, I don't know, a decade in the future, we're gonna be doing an episode of this show, or maybe some other show, me and Ben, and I'm gonna have gained even more Pop-Tart weight, and Ben is gonna have a solid white beard.
Yes,
long in the future.
I think that.
And they are still gonna be playing that video of Piggly.
Yeah,
Piggly on a stickly. That's what they're gonna show, because eventually they've gotta get tired of the pigs in a blanket fry 'em like bacon. I mean, they've been using that for years. Right. So now this is the new Piggly hotness. They're gonna be showing that pig head as proof that every black person has demonized cops and you shouldn't ever care about them. I am very worried, Ben, that is the future we're looking forward to right now.
Yeah. I mean, they are very consistent in their vilification of. And that's what they're doing, right? They're trying to vilify the protesters by saying, "Oh, the protesters are vilifying police." But I think the real action that vilifies police is their continuous murder of citizens, particularly black people.
Exactly. Anyway, I guess I'm to some extent glad to see that they can get mad just about exactly the wrong thing, and for the exact reason that you said, Ben. It is okay. We want to keep people enraged. I know a cop just killed someone, but that can't be the thing they're mad about. What can we get? Maybe a chant, maybe a pig's head. That's what they've got. Now, on Fox and Friends this morning, Pete Hegseth has a take on the Kim Potter killing of Daunte Wright. Here is who he thinks is to blame.
Videotape, and we'll have due process. We'll look at this. This woman has been 26 years on the force. She was training a trainee in the process when this happened. Apparently has an exemplary record, was the head of the police union, was a member of the community, made a really tough call, the wrong call, and tragically someone was killed in that moment. That due process is what got her police chief fired, calling for due process. And very few people are willing to have the conversation we should have, which is Daunte Wright should be alive. But if he had complied, he would be alive. Ultimately, there was an arrest ongoing because there was a warrant for his arrest after this traffic stop.
It's a terrible situation.
He decided to fight the cop. When you decide to fight the cop, you escalate the situation. She didn't make the right call. He shouldn't be dead. I'm not excusing that. But when you fight back, you create the possibility for a tragic situation.
She was trying to do her job. She made the wrong call.
Yes.
She was training someone else 2 days ago, and now she is behind bars. And a mother is without her child. A family is grieving. It's just terrible every way you look at it.
And the cycle doesn't. Go ahead.
Yeah, she was able to get out. She was bailed out last night. And remember, she did resign, but the mayor will not accept her resignation. Why? She doesn't want to get her pension, I guess. So that's the big thing. There's so much going on.
Okay, Ben. So not enough people are having the conversation Pete Hegseth is gonna have and has probably had after every single police killing that every Fox host has had after every police killing, which is it was their fault they didn't comply enough.
Yeah, John, I think I'm gonna have to pass on that one because the only thing that I have to say about this is probably not fit for air. But this is what they do continuously. They do this on a regular basis, and it's a game. It is a game to them, but he needs to understand we're not playing games with you all. We are not, so stop playing games with us.
Yeah, Pete Hegseth is like the Matt Gaetz of Fox News. Yeah. He's just mediocre and comfortable. It's good to be mediocre and comfortable in America, and probably incredibly rich. That's a good point. That's really. That's the bread that the sandwich is made of.
That's the salt in the open wound.
Yeah,
he's pasty white bread.
he's just so comfortable and so mediocre. But anyway,
he's not even honey wheat bread. You see?
No, and that stuff's good. A nice brioche takes some work. But anyway, they don't have to even pretend. As Ben said, it's a game. They don't have to pretend like, because you know what at least pretending would be? You come to the conclusion that yet another black man's responsible for his own death because all you have to do is comply. Because Ben, as we know, when you comply, nothing bad ever happens to you with cops. They would never do anything if you comply. I don't know, what if like you were just complying for like 9 minutes on the ground with a knee on your neck? I'm sure that, oh no, I guess you have to comply for longer, I suppose. But anyway, they don't have to, he talked about the training. She's training someone. Okay, so if she's so experienced, and in fact is so experienced that she's worthy of training other people, why doesn't she know what a gun is?
Right.
Or the difference between guns and other objects? Like, is a taser too close? Can she tell the difference between that and a ham sandwich? Like, does she know, like this mic, for instance, is that different enough from a gun? But they don't even have to engage with that. They just talk about her experience and not the obvious flaw in that argument that her experience was worth nothing in this case.
Right, and if she is so experienced, John, and she's out there training people and she can't tell the difference between a taser and a Glock, then she absolutely does not need to be training. She doesn't need to be a cop, period. And the thing is like, ignorance is no excuse for breaking the law, right? We hear that all the time. Well, ignorance cannot be an excuse for killing people, even if you're a servant of the law. It cannot be.
It can't be. No, if you accidentally killed someone, you could use that as an excuse and you'd probably go to jail. Same for her.
Period.
Oh, you accidentally, you meant to tase him? Yeah, well you didn't, and he died. So I guess you're gonna go to jail and you're gonna have a lot of time to think about the substantive differences between tasers and guns. Maybe you can study it a bit while you're in jail.
And one last thing, they wanted Pete try to bring up the warrant, right? And they try to bring up there's still some dispute around the nature of the warrant in the first place, and the fact that he got pulled over for air freshener and it ended. I forgot who said this, but it was somebody on Roland Martin said this: the distance between being pulled over for an air freshener and death needs to be infinitely apart. But for black people in this country, it's a matter of minutes.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, let's go to a little bit of fun. In the protests after the killing of Daunte Wright, there was one standout video that you might have seen going around. And this was, a concerned citizen referred to here as Tiger, with a little bit of a nod to Donald Trump's insane theories about protest. Here's Tiger.
Tiger, you have been out here. Have you been out here the last couple of days?
Yeah. Well, I've been here all 4 nights. I'm just standing here today with soup for my family, and we're just, watching all of this unfold. It's very unfortunate.
You're not planning on using that, are you? Throwing it at the police?
Like I said, it's for my family.
Literally for your family.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, look, Ben, for those of us who dwell in the news, we're neck deep in the news, that's a pretty good reference.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. And the wink and the nod, that was
that delivery. Yeah. I've never delivered a line in this show how Tiger just delivered that line. No. But let's see if we can see the wink again, because that's like Daily Show segment. Yeah, exactly. Ding, ding. Yeah. There's the wink. Okay, so for those of you who might not get how that has to do with Donald Trump, I apologize. I'm gonna take you back to the bad times when this is the sort of stuff that we had to deal with on a daily basis.
And then they have cans of soup. And they throw the cans of soup. That's better than a brick because you can't throw a brick, it's too heavy. But a can of soup, you can really put some power into that, right?
Yes, sir.
And then when they get caught, they say, no, this is soup for my family. They're so innocent. This is soup for my family. It's incredible. And you have people coming over with bags of soup, big bags of soup, and they lay it on the ground, and the anarchists take it and they start throwing it at our cops, at our police. And if it hits you, that's worse than a brick because it's got force. It's the perfect size. It's made perfect. And when they get caught, they say, no, this is just soup for my family. And then the media says, this is just soup. These people are very, very innocent. They're innocent people. These are just protesters. Isn't it wonderful to allow protesting? No, and by the way, the media knows it better than we do. They know what's going on. I don't know what's wrong with them. They're doing our country a tremendous disservice, I'll say.
That's insane.
It's beautiful.
Insane rambling.
It's beautiful because, like, I'm sorry, I've thrown a couple of bricks in my day. Bricks are just as easy to throw. What kind of bricks is he talking about? Like, entire cinder blocks? Those are a little more difficult, Donald Trump. But if we're talking about, bricks and soup, they weigh about this, depending on the brick, it weighs about the same, or rather, depending on the cup of soup. But anyway, they're
ballistically comparable.
Yes,
they are.
They're equally as effective. For taking care of your family, because you need bricks to build your house. But I digress. The big thing there for me though is the level of situational awareness that Tiger had and the recall. I don't know if he went out there prepared for that. I just hope that he just did it on the fly, because that means there's a level of greatness coming out of the streets that they're not ready for. That level of trolling is amazing.
Exactly. That's just. I mean, the Trump stuff is just madness. Like, yeah, sure, a brick is, as people are saying, about 5 pounds. Well, look, bear in mind, dude needs 2 hands to raise a glass of water. Yeah, a brick is gonna be pretty heavy at that point. And that video was an answer to the question, what would it look like if an old person's Facebook account got the bare minimum of sentience? Yeah, it would be that rant from that old man there. They have soup, big bags of soup. Soup for the family.
All I know is that they had a bag of soup and they hit me across the head with it. Soup. Donald Trump is amazing.
But of course, we had a little bit of fun there. Let's also bear in mind, what was that video about? That was him attempting to justify dispatching this multi-department goon squad to cities around the country to at least temporarily disappear people off the streets of America and justify months of incredible police violence against protesters. Like, how many videos did we show you of them trying to run people down with their trucks, macing people, boxing them in, all of that stuff? So yeah, it's funny to look back on, but he was trying to justify violence against protesters. And by the way, at the very end saying, oh, isn't it great? Isn't it great to allow protest, sarcastically? To allow protest, because in his ideal world, it wouldn't exist. And for most conservatives, it wouldn't. So anyway, great job, Tiger. Love your soup. Okay, now with that, let's see what's going on with the audience before we move on to some other updates. Let's see, Zane says, when is the next tier 3 Q&A Dragon Daddy? That's a good, actually, Marissa, we do need to schedule that. I'm assuming that's going to be next week. We're probably late. We probably should have done it this week, because we usually do it in the middle. Anyway, we'll talk about it. Thank you for the reminder. Wanted to thank Kimberly Wu for becoming a tier 2 YouTube membership. Remember, really do appreciate that. You get access to the top 10 list, including this week's top 10 things Biden suspiciously hasn't done yet that he totally can and has said that he would. So that's a fun one. Want to thank the Dragon Report for a big super chat saying, sending a ton of support for TDR. Really do appreciate that, Dragon Report. Thank you so much. Franklin Sharpslicer has a poem for us saying, AOC debate would be easier to nail Jello to a tree, easier to debate a rock. That's how I see. She would need to use small words, that it's true, as long as she doesn't use words like gun or maybe even Q. Talking there about AOC being challenged to a debate from Marjorie Green. Thank you, Franklin. Heather Willie and Hoot USMC, the Dragon Slayer, welcome to tier 1 YouTube membership. Forrest Dudley says, John, I know that you can't make them exact copies of an actual green dragon due to copyright, but you might also want to consider variants in design. You managed to get close to an actual red dragon last time, keep it up. I believe that we certainly will for different poses, but I think for this like classic pose, I don't think we want to have too many different dragons, but I'll leave it up to the graphic designers. I didn't come up with this one, I'll leave it to them for what they want to make. Tech Stan says the pighead guy is my new hero. That's taking protest signs to a whole new level. I love it. I can't wait to see absence art around that pighead. Tara Chapman says, thankfully, BLM protesters rally outside home of Drill Sergeant Jonathan Pentland. Even though Drill Sergeant was arrested, not enough. His wife should face charges also for antagonizing as well. Shaking my head, some people. I don't know, did you see that video of the Drill Sergeant?
Yeah, unfortunately I did, man. And I'm glad that he was arrested.
Exactly, yeah, imagine a country just full of people like that. That's the life they want to lead. That's the neighborhood they want to create.
Yeah,
that's America.
And he was new to the neighborhood, by the way. He was only his house. He had only owned the house for 10 months. So he was questioning how long the other guy had been there, but he was new. But anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, and I just love they filmed and released that. It's not just that they did it. Yeah. They think that's awesome. It's like the people who go into Panera to talk about how, masks won't protect you because a fart comes out of your butt. Like, they're filming it.
Yeah, they think they're right.
Self-awareness, people.
But that's the thing. They honestly believe that they're on the right side of justice and on the right side of history.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. Okay, the Dalek Dragon says, Dragon Daddy, I must know, in a battle royale, who would win? I think this is targeted at you too. Star Trek, Doctor Who, or Star Wars? What do you think, Dragon?
Oh man, that's a tough one. It's got to be the Doctor. The Doctor would win. Just because of the sheer magnitude of his capabilities.
Oh, if this is an actual fight, I don't know. I don't want to bet against the Force. It's a mystical force that binds all living things together. But just in terms of like the strength of the IP,
okay.
I don't know. I've watched more Star Trek than anything. But Star Wars is so good.
What do you mean the strength and like how much it's worth and the value?
I don't know. I think he just wants us to pick.
Oh, okay.
I think. I really like Star Wars these days. I don't know.
I'm sticking with the Doctor, even though Star Wars is at the bottom for me. In those three, like I love Star Wars, but it's the Doctor, and Star Trek, and then Star Wars.
Okay. Where does BSG fit in there? Are you a Battlestar fan?
Number 5 for me.
Okay, jeez. Okay, that rough ending. I get that. Well, they're rebooting it. We'll reassess at some point. Okay, hold on one second. Tom Zawaki on Twitter says hashtag TDR Live. Everyone knows that 1 can of soup equals 157 bullets by mass. Therefore, a can of soup must be infinitely more dangerous. I just love the president of the United States rambling about how a can of soup is nature's perfect weapon. Madness.
I'm thinking about the ability to. Yeah, it's pretty effective though. I don't know. Not as effective as
some sort of. Like, it's a wonder. We're lucky, and I hesitate to even say this because I don't want to put it out there that like mass shooters, they could be getting cans of soup, but stupidly they don't, thus artificially keeping the death count down. What an idiot! What a stupid, dangerous idiot. Anyway, okay. Let's move on to other breaking news. I'm having too much fun with today's show. Let's talk about something serious. In the trial of Derek Chauvin, we have a couple of big bits of breaking news. First of all, that the defense has apparently rested. We will have closing arguments soon. But the other big bit of news is that Derek Chauvin apparently decided to take the 5th. So I want to show you a video of that, and then we'll give you our thoughts.
Is this your decision not to testify?
It is, Your Honor.
All right. Do you have any questions about your right to remain silent or to testify on your own behalf?
Not at this time, I don't.
All right. Has anyone promised anything or threatened you in any way to keep you from testifying?
No promises or threats, Your Honor.
Do you feel that your decision not to testify is a voluntary one on your behalf?
Yes, it is.
Now, in addition to that, I'm convinced then that this is your personal decision and that you're aware of your rights. But there is a jury instruction that may be read to the jury. This, again, is the one that you get to weigh in on. It's not for your lawyer to make the decision. Again, he can give you advice, and I don't want to know what the advice is. But you can accept the advice or reject the advice as to whether or not to give this instruction. If you would like, I can read this instruction to the jury. It's titled, Defendant's Right Not to Testify. The state must convince you by evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty of the crime charged. The defendant has no obligation to prove innocence. The defendant has the right not to testify. This right is guaranteed by the federal and state constitutions. You should not draw any inference from the fact that the defendant has not testified in this case. Do you understand that instruction?
Yes, Your Honor.
Would you like that read to the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you had enough time to talk to Mr. Nelson about whether that's a good idea or not?
I have, Your Honor.
All right. And so I will read that to the jury on your request.
Thank you.
All right.
So, Ben, first off, quick question. Did you catch the hint of like smirk on his face occasionally there? Like, I maybe I'm looking too much into it, but the quick way he answered those questions. I swear one time he did smirk. People can play it back for themselves. But what are your thoughts about him choosing to plead the 5th?
Well, I mean, that's the only thing that he can do in terms of protecting himself. He has the right to do it. I did catch that hint of smirk. It's the same kind of smirk that he had in that 9-minute period that he was killing George Floyd. And I felt, I think Adrienne Lawrence with TYT, she actually said on Twitter, it's almost as if the judge is doing as much as he possibly can to make sure that nothing about this trial could lead to the appeals court. Almost to the point where it's almost, he's giving Chauvin so much leeway, benefit of the doubt, and consideration. And actually, I understand that, because once this decision is brought down, his attorneys are going to look for absolutely anything that they can. So this is just par for the course for what you would expect for a defendant in this kind of situation.
Yeah, I was looking to her for interpretation of this too, especially because I could only, like, as I'm producing, I'm paying, like, I've got it on the background, so I wanted, someone who actually knows the law, like Adrienne Lawrence. So yeah. I wanted to read a couple of her quick takes, but I'm glad that you referenced that one as well. She said, it's not surprising that Derek Chauvin is invoking his Fifth Amendment right not to testify. He can't justify his actions with regard to George Floyd, and he couldn't even remotely appear sympathetic. I mean, hell, he couldn't appear sympathetic while pleading the Fifth, let alone while testifying. But she goes on to say the prosecutors would tear up Chauvin on cross-examination. Plus, although the court has already ruled that many of Chauvin's past complaints and police misconduct complaints can't come in, who knows what could come in against Chauvin should he testify? I'm not an expert in the law. I'm sure they have a reason for why all that past stuff can't come in. Seems relevant. I mean, look at in the court of public opinion, if you ever posed with weed, that sort of stuff will come in. If you're the person who got killed for some reason, if you've been disciplined a bunch, that can't come in. But yeah, I'm sure Chauvin was very worried that if he stood on there and could be questioned, I mean, a ton about his past, his views, all of that, his motivations. He doesn't seem like a guy who's so quick-witted and savvy that he could avoid incriminating himself. So maybe this was a wise decision on his part.
Yeah, no, I was under no illusion that he was going to testify. So here we have it.
And I guess we still have the closing arguments, but at this point, based on what you've seen, what are your hopes or expectations about how this thing will be wrapped up?
So to any reasonable good faith actor, it's an open and shut case of murder. However, that's not how America works. And all they have to do is convince one juror, who I'm sure they have at least one person on that jury who is trying to find anything they can possibly cling to find this man innocent. So I'm preparing myself for a hung jury. I just cannot, and I hope I'm wrong. This is one of the times I hope I am just completely wrong.
Yeah, it would just. It's like, look, if Derek Chauvin goes to jail, it's not like, oh, good, we won, the whole thing's fixed. No, it's so far from that. But if they can't even get this, but that's been true about so many. Like, think about all the things that you've seen. I'm talking to both you, Ben, and the audience. Think about the things you've seen on camera cops do. Think about the things you've seen in body cams, and it's almost never enough. And so why would this, 9 minutes to make the right decision, choosing not to, like almost a full year of protests drawing attention to the issue? Why would this be enough? So I was feeling pretty good, but now that I'm talking to you, yeah, I'm kind of preparing myself for a hung jury as well, actually. Yeah. Okay, well, look, we've still got a lot to get to. So why don't we roll on to our next topic, a very different, although perhaps. Okay, so are we? I assume that's an issue, Marissa. Everybody prepare for a little bit of behind the scenes information. Is that an issue for going forward? Why don't I read a few comments and we'll see if we can fix that. Sound good? Okay, so let's see what's going on in the audience. Okay, this is what happens right before the TriCaster crashes again, I bet. Jane says, watching while getting my vaccine, couldn't have picked a better day. Love Ben and John combo. Thank you for that, I appreciate that. Oh, I misheard what you were saying there. Nobody in the audience knows what's going on. I apologize for that. I'll explain at some point. Oh, the misinterpretations. Old Dragon Fart says, thanks for your work. Appreciate that. Although, as was just demonstrated, not doing a good job of it. So Anyway, the Dayman says, love you, Ben, stay strong. Thanks for liking my comment I made on your You Up stream. Come to TDR more. Oh, thank you, Dayman. That's nice of him. Okay, Ty Strong says, I've been waking up with Ben's show this whole week. TDR really puts us on to real people. Matthew Zadok-Williams from Ben's show. John, Ben, thank you. That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. Trisha Briggs says, soup for my family. Hilarious. Who doesn't love that guy? At least based on that. I don't know the guy, God only knows. But based on what I saw there, yes, I like him.
I hope he matches the swag that he just showed. Like, cause he needs to be a star. If he's really that guy in real life and he's a good dude,
yeah,
it'd be great.
Peter Grudge says, I was at my uncle's house on Monday, and on AM radio, we were listening about the confusion of mixing our firearm with a taser. The taser is plastic with a yellow tip. How is that confused with a gun? I don't know. I don't know. Free Spirit Dragon Mama says, hey, Ben and Dragon Daddy, happy Thursday. Just a heads up, your goodie package with your belt should arrive in a day or two. A little something for you and Jank and the crew to say thank you for all the good you do. Can't wait, thank you. But bear in mind, I'll probably get it a little bit later than that because Dave has to go to the place and get it, bring it back, but I appreciate it in advance. Thank you for that. Elaine Kelly, welcome to Tier 1 YouTube membership. Thank you for that. Tara Chapman says, Derek C. sentencing should not be allowed to be in a private center. General lockup, no protection for him. Sure, for me, it's whether he goes at all or not. We'll see, we'll see. Brandy Torres, welcome to Tier 2 YouTube membership. Thank you for that. Little heads up, I think the top 10 list next week, we do have Francesca. She is a comedian, so I think it'll be our top 10 current favorite comedians, I think. Actually, I wanna do a comedic one, something non-political. So tune in and learn a little bit more about me and more importantly, a little bit about Francesca. Over on Twitch, Dragon Penny gifted 5 Tier 1 subs. Thank you for that. Diamond Joker subscribed for the 2nd month. Thank you, Diamond Joker. Auntie Fa subscribed for the 4th month. Thank you, enjoy the soup. And Hail Satan, Baltar Asar subscribed for 12 months, hit the year mark. Thank you for that. Adarisk says, I find your lack of faith disturbing, Ben. A reference to Star Wars there. Copper Queen says, okay, but green dragons are also chromatic. I want some metallic dragons. We will get to the bronze and the copper and the silver eventually. Don't even worry about it. Anyway, with that, now that I know that I can go forward because I'm an idiot and a doofus, we will move forward with our next segment. We're supposed to get a nice big raise to the minimum wage. That is what some people have said, but unfortunately we are governed not by our best, but by the worst. And so get ready for a mediocre, watered down raise to the minimum wage if it comes at all, because Mitt Romney and Kyrsten Sinema are working with a group of 10 Democrats and 10 Republicans on a minimum wage compromise. 15 was the compromise that they hope can build bipartisan support after Senate Democrats failed to pass a $15 an hour minimum wage. Now, hold on. We have other details and I want Ben's commentary. But that is quite the sentence there that Kyrsten Sinema's working after Senate Democrats failed to pass it. Let's not note that she was part of the reason they failed to pass it. Do we have the footage? Can we just show that? Because I want it to be burned in everyone's memory for the rest of their lives. Her little performance, her little curtsy there. No, you don't deserve a raise in your wages. No pay for you. I'm gonna go have fun now. The theme of the day, mediocre and comfortable. Kyrsten Sinema, mediocre and comfortable. We got more, but Ben, we have them working on it. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything to say about how miserable this country is, John. Like they're trying to compromise. 15 is the compromise. If minimum wage had kept up with efficiency, it would be 22, 24, and I think some estimates is $27 an hour, right? And we haven't seen an increase since 2009, I believe. And so for them to try to compromise away from the compromise means that there's nothing that will satisfy the insatiable lust for money that capitalism has in this country.
Yeah, 100%. Now, look, let's give more details. So you got Romney and Sinema. So you think, oh, great, dream team. Well, it's not just them. We've also got, let's see, Jean Shaheen, Maggie Hassan, John Tester, Angus King. All people who voted against the $15 an hour minimum wage. So okay, well, if not that, then what do we get? Well, Joe Manchin says, I think it's 11. Yay. So let's be very clear about this. The Dems won the presidency. They won the Senate by winning miraculously, not one, but 2 Senate seats in Georgia, which isn't even supposed to elect Democrats. And after all of that, and also won the House a couple years ago. After all of that, we get 11. Okay, so what would we get without all of that? Well, in February, Romney suggested a $10 an hour minimum wage. So a buck for winning multiple elections all over the country, a presidency, both houses of Congress. A buck, maybe a buck. That's what we would get. But not even now, not even a now buck, not an immediate buck, a later buck, a 2025 buck. I don't even know if we're gonna make it to 25 to get the buck.
20. I was glad you threw that last bit in there. That's an increase by 2025. And the amount that they're able to squeeze out of the average worker right now means by 2025, the value of our hourly wage, our hourly worth would be at least $27, $30 an hour, and they're trying to pace us to get to $11 by 2025. $10, I'm sorry, by 2025. It's absolutely obscene, it's perverse, and it is par for the course. This is just normal. They think this is bipartisanship. They think this is a good move. In fact, it is a slap in the face of every worker in this country.
Yeah, look, Jack Strax in Twitch says, $1, what is this, trading places? Yeah, it feels like that. It feels like a joke. It feels like a bet that the rich are playing on us. Remember, Romney, uber wealthy. So thank you, rich man, for saying we might get a buck at some point. Okay, so let's say it's 11. Well, let's see, National Low Income Housing Coalition has put together a map of what a full-time worker would need to earn to afford an average 2-bedroom place. Let's see, where would $11 do it? I'm seeing nowhere. Actually, nowhere would a full-time worker be able to afford that. But maybe even more insulting, not more insulting than the curtsy, that's the worst thing I've ever seen, is that the $11 she's apparently going to be fighting for is less than her state's minimum wage, which is $12.15. Like, they sent her to the Senate to not even raise their minimum wage as a result of passing a bill to raise the minimum wage. I despise Joe Manchin, but she might be worse, because I think this at least would be a raise for West Virginia. It would be a crappy one. It would be like it would be making a mockery of the idea that Joe Manchin is some sort of pro-worker senator, but she's actually fighting for less than they already get.
Yeah. I hope, my earnest plea to the universe is that everybody remembers every moment of her curtsy and every bad policy that she's chasing after, so that we can get rid of her as soon as the next election for her seat comes up.
It has to, and look, there have been like elections that had to get rid of the person that happened, like Ted Cruz. How did we not beat Ted Cruz? Mitch McConnell. How did Maine not go? How did Collins stay after all of what Collins did? But she has got to go. Like, you cannot tell me there is no better progressive, or not even progressive. Let's get a regular crappy Democrat over Carlson Sinema. I would prefer a regular crappy Democrat to her. We can do that. We can do a lot better than that, but we can at least do that. We gotta get rid of her. Yeah. That curtsy needs to be burned into everyone's retinas. She's literally squatting on America. That's what it feels like. After years of trickle-down economics, you now get the Kirsten squat. Things have really escalated in recent years. My God. And look, this is what they're gonna be trying to do. And in theory, if those Democratic senators say it's not 15, 11's the best we're gonna allow, then that's kind of what it means, I guess. So what do we do? Like, what do the progressives in Congress and the couple of them in the Senate do? I don't know. Vote against the $11 as a show of force? Is it general strike time? Like, I don't know what to do when the issue is so obviously our own caucus, like the worst people in our own caucus.
Well, the one thing that we could do is to obviously send up like actual progressives and more actual progressives, but that seems to be a little complicated these days. I won't go into that.
And it's definitely time. Like we can't do that now. Like that's going to be a couple of years. I mean, sure, there's a couple of like special elections and stuff, Nina Turner and all that. We could have gotten Gary Chambers. There are those, but for the most part, that is a 2 years from now, a year and a half from now thing.
Yeah.
It's just incredibly frustrating to continue the whole country held hostage by the worst Democrats in the country.
Oh my God. Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, okay, let's roll on to our next topic because there's another villain that didn't pop up in that one, but I want to make sure that we get to. Okay, not long ago we found out that Joe Biden has convened a commission to look into expanding the Supreme Court because that's a thing he's going to support. But anyway, in the House, Congressional Democrats plan to unveil legislation. I believe as of right now, it has been unveiled to expand the size of the Supreme Court, according to 3 different sources. The bill would add 4 seats to the High Court, bringing the total to 13 from the current 9. I've actually seen the actual text of it. That's what it does. That's the whole thing. It's just you have more spots for associate justices. It's been introduced by Gerald Nadler, Hank Johnson, Mondaire Jones, and Ed Markey in the Senate as well. So that's what it would do. That said, I mean, Ben, what do we think? Like, Joe Manchin is definitely going to be on board for that.
Right. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't I see Nancy Pelosi has already come out against it?
Oh yeah, we got those tweets.
Okay,
don't worry about it. Yeah, but you're right. You're right. So we know that, like, let's run through a little bit of it. Ed Markey says Republicans stole the court's majority with Justice Amy Coney Barrett's confirmation completing their crime spree. Senate Republicans have politicized the Supreme Court, undermined its legitimacy, and threatened the rights of millions of Americans, especially people of color, women, and our migrant communities, our immigrant communities. All of that is true. Chuck Schumer said, not only do these extremist judges threaten more than a century of progressive achievements, they threaten to foreclose the possibility of any future progress under a Democratic administration, which is totally true. Now, as Ben pointed out, though, this is being attacked, and not just by Republicans, although some Republicans. Mike Lee said packing the court is an act of arrogant lawlessness, and he would never support arrogant lawlessness in terms of how they put people on the Supreme Court. Mike Lee, who definitely supported Mitch McConnell on every bit of this, but asked if she supports it, Speaker Pelosi said no, and has no plans to bring it to the floor. And she can stop it from even being voted on. Now that is terrible, Ben. But even a little bit worse is, she said it's not out of the question. The growth of America might necessitate it, but she doesn't plan to bring the current bill to the floor. So it's not out of the question, except it's literally out of the question. You don't get to question it because she ain't gonna put it up. But don't worry. Like eventually America growing might necessitate it. I mean, sure, since the original Constitution was like put into effect, there were 4 million Americans there. Now there's nearly 100 times as many. But maybe someday with like another million Americans, then like 4 more justices would be acceptable. It's just all so insulting. Like now she gets to be the person in the House that says, no, we don't even get to debate this stuff. I'm not even gonna put up to a vote. I don't want anyone to have to actually go on the record.
Yeah. So to me, this is just another clear case of how Democrats are complicit with the absolute problems, because we have the opportunity to fix everything that was broken, but we can't get that far because of a number of Senate Democrats, including Sinema and Manchin, but also including Nancy Pelosi in the House.
Yeah. Like you're made out to be insane if you believe that the Supreme Court should in any way be representative of the country. And I guess I'm making assumptions here about what the country wants based on all the elections and polls, I suppose, that isn't supposed to count for anything. Because a couple hundred years ago, some incredibly wealthy racists decided that no, power should be distributed so that rural people have way more political power than the vast majority of the population. Like that's what they decided. And if public opinion ever goes so in the other direction, at the very least, we'll have the Supreme Court. And even if like you get the president to put people on the Supreme Court from that party, then if we can just maintain our hold in the Senate, which is obviously biased towards small rural states, then they can manipulate the process of putting people on the Supreme. There's so many layers of defense to stop what the people want from ever being put into effect. And we're seeing yet another one. Like there's no amount of elections you can win where you get to have a Supreme Court that looks like the country.
No. Way to frame that, man. It's really depressing. No, but seriously, it's a fact. And the underlying issue is from the filibuster all the way to the Senate itself, it was a way of protecting racist slave owners. And so at the core of this country is white supremacy. And we see this, like I think the clearest example is if you juxtapose January 6th to what's happening in Brooklyn Center and how there was no response on January 6th, but then you have the full force of the National Guard and police out in Brooklyn Center. And so that same thing that was that same seed that started this country is poisoning us right now. And I fear that it's going to be the destruction of this country.
Yeah. Oh God. Okay. I almost don't even want to play these videos because I just can't take it anymore. But with it being announced that the Democrats are going to try to expand the Supreme Court, except totally not, the Republicans could just take a back seat on this. They don't need to attack this because the Democrats are going to destroy it all on their own, but they want the cred. So some Republicans are speaking out against it. Here is Kevin McCarthy.
This should scare every single American, regardless of where you stand politically. The Democrats inside Congress today rather dismantle this nation than dignify the Constitution. This just goes to show how far the Democrat Party has moved. There almost are no longer common sense or moderate Democrats elected. Even Joe Biden in the past was opposed to this. Those Democrats on the Supreme Court were opposed to this. Because what this simply does is it's about control. It's overtaking a branch of government simply to have your control over a nation. It must be the scariest thing I've ever heard them do. I never thought they would go this far. But now they're not only proposing it, they're moving it in legislation form.
Okay, so in case you just woke up from a coma, bear in mind they tried to overthrow the election. So in terms of like, oh God, they don't respect the Constitution. No, they tried to overthrow it like 2 months ago. I don't have the best memory in the world, but I can remember that. And also, they're just like using raw power to take over the Supreme Court. That's not what they're supposed to do. That's what Mitch McConnell is supposed to do. Like it's projection, except it's projection after they've already done it and gotten the benefits of it. So it's even more insulting than regular projection, Ben.
Yeah. And you know what, Kevin McCarthy, blah, 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 blank, 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 blank. But he's sitting there talking so calm and so measured, and he's so hypocritical, and he's gaslighting us to the highest degree. He backed the coup. He backed the attempt to overthrow of the federal government. He's backing Donald Trump's. Is he even willing to say that Donald Trump actually lost? I mean, but he sits there so poised and so composed with all of this propaganda. And that's the insult to injury. The insult to injury is that he has the nerve to present himself as the reasonable one when he is the most irrational, honestly, ideological terrorist out of all.
Exactly. Yeah, he's doing, like, as people are pointing out, like mediocre Tucker Carlson impression there. Just like, I'm just asking questions and condescending to you, the peasants I have no respect for. And even Joe Biden didn't used to support this. Well, first of all, I got news for you. Joe Biden still doesn't support it, but let's pretend that he does. Let's pretend that his commission is a serious thing. What has happened between now and Joe Biden of when was he first elected, like 75 years ago? Well, it's been demonstrated that when Republicans win the presidency, you end up with a conservative Supreme Court. When the Democrats win the presidency, you end up with a conservative Supreme Court. There is literally nothing you can do on the left, the center, to get a Supreme Court that represents you the way the system is set up. So that might start to lead some people to think that the system needs to be changed. And let's bear in mind, if we're talking about veneration for the Constitution, one of the core parts of the Constitution is its ability to be changed. That was baked into it. That's a very important part of it. That's why we have literally dozens of amendments. The idea that you could never amend it again is not only ahistorical, it goes against the very nature of the document that you pretend that you're so in love with.
Yeah, they have mastered the art of always being able to maintain political control. And even when they're out of political power, they've mastered the art of being in the minority and still maintaining the political control. And if that fails, they have mastered the art of co-opting or finding Democrats to run as Democrats when Joe Manchin knows he's nothing more than a Republican. And so at every single level of this government, Republicans and conservatives have mastered the art of ensuring that we can't even have the conversation about extending the Constitution in ways that it was literally designed to, in order to incorporate more rights for more people as time went on. But instead, they've mastered the art of freezing us at a point in time that most benefited them.
Totally. We needed Bernie. Take your pick, 2016, 2020, we did. He would have faced all of this absolute nonsense. Like, it's not like Carlson Sinema would have been cool with Bernie as president, but he could have done a lot of independent stuff in the same way that Biden in theory could, but just doesn't. We needed Bernie, we didn't get Bernie. I can't imagine that Bernie is gonna run again in 4 years. But I don't know what's gonna happen. We will see. Okay, I'm gonna read just a couple of quick super chats, then we're gonna roll into an update on a story we did earlier this week. David says, go vegan, John. Animal agriculture is responsible for more climate change than the entire transportation industry. Finally, less pig heads on sticks. David, I love you. Not gonna be vegan. For a lot of, I don't even disagree with what you're saying. I eat far less meat than most people. Lately, for the past few weeks, most of what I consume is green juice, which I checked for meat bits and there's nothing in there. I'm doing what I can. I am not a perfect person. I don't claim to be. And if I ever do, my wife will correct me on social media, so don't worry. Okay, Jeffrey Phillips says, soup is the equivalent to rubber bullets, not lethal like a twisted tea, inebriated dragon. Thank you, Jeffrey, that's funny. Minimal Chaos Dragon says, the doctor hands down. Dr. Jess says, the doctor would reverse the polarity of the neutron flow. I don't know what that means because I've never watched Doctor.
Perfect, that's absolutely what the doctor would do. That's it.
I don't know what it means. It sounds like, well, yeah, but then Data would do a tachyon field. It sounds like technobabble is what it sounds like.
It's the standardized technobabble throughout the entire series. Yeah.
What
if something goes wrong, reverse the
auxiliary power? Just put it straight through the deflector, obviously. Anyway, okay, Bond says wealthy people should not be allowed to hold office because they are so detached from the 99%. Yeah, they're never gonna do anything like that, but I think that some sort of maximum wage or something like that for the rich certainly would be interesting. If we could weed out a little bit of the people who are so clearly motivated only by a desire to enrich themselves. Thankfully, we did weed out a bit of that with those two special elections in Georgia. Purdue and Loeffler were two of the most just doing it for the money politicians we've had in a while.
Yeah.
Okay, Kyle Cushing says, what is the status of Ro Khanna's bill on the regular appointment of SC judges? It gets rid of the perverse praying for life, death. No, that's a great point. I actually meant to make that. The thing that frustrates me about this bill is not that it expands the court, it's that that's the only reform it makes to the court. Why don't we actually reform the court? Like, make it so you get, an 18-year term or a 12-year term or whatever, and make it so that every president gets, every term you get 2. That way it's a little bit more reflective. It's not this thing where it's like, oh God, I hope Breyer doesn't die or something, But they don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. They all hope, they pray in the same way that every working class American is taught to allow the rich to get away with whatever they want because they're supposed to pray that someday they will be rich. All these politicians are totally okay with the system of putting on Supreme Court justices being so manipulated, so obviously flawed, because they believe, well, yeah, but maybe someday we'll get to take advantage of it. Yeah, but what if nobody did? What if we just made it so that there's no taking advantage? You just get the justices that you're owed. Anyway, okay, Einstein subscribed for 8 months on Twitch, says almost a TYT baby. That's funny. Quazizeb subscribed for 7 months. Thank you. Cajun Dragon Lady for 8 months. Thank you so much. Work for 7 months. Thank you all. Now, on to our next topic. Earlier this week, Tucker Carlson said one of the craziest things he's ever said. I know that's hard. He works every week to say crazier and crazier things. But this week he said that the COVID vaccine, quote, doesn't work and they're simply not telling you that. Sorry, he asked questions with a really dumb look on his face. He didn't actually say it, he just said it over and over and over again because he can't find out how effective it is. How would you do that? You'd have to have the internet or bookers. And he doesn't have either of those things. Well, we decided to do a bit of work and we found out, according to the CDC, only 0.008% of the fully vaccinated population has been infected with the coronavirus 2 weeks after their final dose. So once you've received a full dose, what are your odds of getting it? Well, so far, very low. Out of more than 66 million Americans who've been fully vaccinated, there have been about 5,800 cases of COVID-19 that have actually been identified after that. Of these, what they're called breakthrough cases, more than 40% occurred in people older than 60. So still, the older are more likely to be affected. 65% of the cases were in female patients. I wonder if they're controlling for how likely they are to get it though, because I know men are less likely to get the vaccine. So bear that in mind. The CDC found that 29% of breakthrough infections were asymptomatic. So even like it's even less than 0.008 because you're gonna have a very mild case potentially. Only 74 people have died after experiencing breakthrough infections. So that is damn near 1 in a million right there, Ben. But sorry, I don't know why I'm telling you this. Tucker's the one who apparently needs to know.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. The amount of disinformation, misinformation, propaganda, and gaslighting that Tucker Carlson is paid about $8 million a year to spew. And how damaging it is to the actual lives of people. I mean, he was part of the entire Fox cabal that downplayed the virus in the first place, leading to, I think they actually had a study showing that Fox News viewers were more prone to get the virus because of the misinformation. Yeah. And yet and still, he's spewing all this racist, white supremacist, white replacement theory garbage. And in the height of all the things that are going on with the pandemic and the George Floyd protest and the Derek Chauvin trial and the Daunte Wright protest, all that's going on, you can regularly see Tucker Carlson just in your timeline on television, just making it worse over and over again. I don't really know what to say except for he is the main character, main villain in terms of the media presence, because he is doing the most damage I think anybody I've seen on media in my lifetime.
I think he's far and away the worst. Like Trump is releasing statements telling people to get the vaccine.
Yeah.
Ivanka Trump just got it and put it on Instagram. Like he is by far the worst. And what makes it even worse is partially that he has so many viewers, partially that he has the last vestiges of this insane, totally media created idea that he's reasonable in some way, that he's not Sean Hannity when he's far worse than Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham. It's also that you might recall, and I think this is the study that you're referring to, very early on in the pandemic, like a month in, they released this study showing that people who watched Sean Hannity were more likely to get sick and die than people who watched Tucker Carlson. They gave Tucker Carlson credit. And the reason they could do that is because Tucker Carlson, as bad as it would be if he was totally anti-mask and vaccine his whole life, if he was consistently awful, he wasn't. The first few weeks of the pandemic, he didn't yet know where the political winds were. Maybe Trump is gonna take this super seriously. So I'm gonna take it seriously. We're gonna crush this thing. He's gonna protect America and get reelected. Oh no, he's not gonna do that? oh, well then masks are the worst thing. Social distancing is the worst thing. Caring about your fellow man, that's actually weakness. Don't do that. And so after a couple of weeks of relatively taking it seriously compared to other Fox hosts, he then suddenly was worse than all of them. More anti-mask, more anti-lockdown, more anti-social distancing, and now by far the worst when it comes to the vaccine.
Yeah, I can't for the life of me. I don't have a price tag. John, I know you don't have a price tag. I mean, we obviously could go and make obscene amounts of money if we just get red pilled all of a sudden. But the price tag for Tucker selling his soul, I mean, there he is, and he's doing it to the detriment of so many lives. People are dying because of this misinformation, and yet he's paid a fortune to spew it.
Exactly, 100%. He's getting rich, mediocre and comfortable, and also rich. That is who runs this country. It's politics, it's companies, and it's media. Okay. Really fast, I think that we can do this last story, which is important. We have a little bit of time. Far be it from me to go into the beginning of Wosny Lombre's new show on Twitch, which is coming up right after this show. That's coming up in less than 15 minutes. But we're gonna take you close to the cusp of it, right under the border of Wosnia. But don't worry, we're gonna go into our last story first. A new study has shown that tax cheats apparently are withholding about $1 trillion a year from the IRS due to apparently even more sophisticated tax evasion than the IRS was aware of, or at least says they were aware of up until recently. $1 trillion. So previous tallies of the tax gap, which came to a cumulative amount of about $441 billion for the 3 years through 2013, didn't include some tax evasion techniques that weren't on the agency's radar at the time. Now, they might not have been on their radar because they genuinely didn't know about it, or it might be because they've been so defunded that they don't have the manpower to actually look into these things, or it might be that they've been told not to look into this stuff because after all, they're not there to get money from rich people. But anyway, new estimates include the use of cryptocurrency because as is one of my rules, cryptocurrency is involved in all of the worst things in society. Offshore tax evasion, illegal, I just don't like Bitcoin. Anyway, illegal income that goes undetected by the IRS and underreporting from pass-through businesses all contributed to a $1 trillion figure. Now, Ben, we hear a lot about trillions of dollars for things and how it's so terrible. Like you're gonna spend trillions fighting climate change or on infrastructure. That's insane. I have a feeling that this $1 trillion figure will be talked about less.
That's a hell of a way to frame it because this is probably the only time we're gonna hear about it, independent media. But just think about, I mean, they come after like average people who maybe they couldn't afford to pay their taxes one year because maybe they made money one year and the next year. That's who the IRS targets. And the fact that there are literally $1 trillion out there, that's not from anyone who's not in the top 1%. That money is owed the American people, and it is owed to us by the richest people in this country. And yet the IRS is probably not going to do much to get it.
Exactly. I mean, look, in theory, how could you get through the Biden years without a massive increase to the funding for the IRS? Which I know, absent context, sounds like, ugh, God, you want more money to the IRS? Yes, because they've been defunded specifically so that they won't go after the rich. But look, Ro Khanna's got a bill to increase funding and enforcement from the IRS. Sinema and Manchin will let us have that, but I would assume probably not at this point. It is so much money, $1 trillion a year. Like for your free public college, you can't even notice that amount in there. What was that, like $60 billion a year? That's nothing. That's like the change on your $1 trillion a year. That goes significantly towards Green New Deal. Pick, what do you want? We want Medicare for all, whatever you want. That is gonna take you a massive percentage. That infrastructure bill is not $1 trillion a year. It's a tiny little fraction of that. And this money is just sitting out there. We'll see if the Dems actually prioritize it. The issue is that a lot of the Dems are wealthy and use these same sorts of tricks, and certainly their donors. What are we supposed to believe, that only Republican donors cheat the IRS? No, Dem donors do it too. We'll see if the Dems are courageous enough to actually stand against it.
Don't hold your breath, John.
No,
just
I would bet money on it, but I'm not one of these rich MFers. I don't have a ton of money to bet on it.
They're not going to do anything about it. If they hire anybody, it's going to be to come after like middle income earners who just they owe the IRS $10,000. They're going to come for you. Owe the IRS $1 billion.
Sure.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, maybe they'll catch some of the game stonk people. That's about it. That's as far as it's gonna go.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's see. So Jam Tomb had a message he wanted me to make sure that I read for Ben, saying, I love you guys, and to tell Ben I got called racist by a white supremacist for calling him part of the saltine supremacy. Pretty good. That's pretty good. As a guy,
I didn't mean to get him in trouble.
Saltine. That's pretty good. Anyway, that's funny. Ben, as always, want to thank you for joining us. Had a lot of fun doing the news, even though the news isn't always fun. You always are, and loved your commentary. Where can people watch more of your work?
They can go right to the Benjamin Dixon Show on YouTube, Twitch, wherever you watch or get podcasts. You can go. And someone in the comment section said that you and I need to do like a nerd fest, an episode where we just talk about nerd stuff. That'd be great.
Sure. Maybe we can like I'll do a response to watching the first episode of Doctor Who or something like that.
Oh yes, I will. Well, I'll recommend the episode though. So
okay,
yeah.
I know they've done it a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm seeing some squirrels in the chat as well. Ben, thank you as always. Have a good one, man.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And for those of you at home, let's see. We have a couple of minutes remaining. Let me read a few of these. Sea Salt Chip says, don't forget Charles Kinsey, who was out in the open on his back, hands in the air, still shot, but thankfully lived. What would Fox's excuse be there? Well, bear in mind, they don't always have to give an excuse. They can just not cover these things. That more often than not is what they do. Wonderfully Made says, hey John, could you wish my husband Spencer a happy birthday? He's feeling extra old today and could use a birthday message to soften the blow. Spencer, happy birthday. Hope that it's a fun one. Okay, Panda says, as a person who's been raised around guns and has been taught how to use them safely, it's frustrating that a professional can mistake the two. 100%. Yeah, I haven't shot a taser in my life, but I've shot tons of guns, and I feel like I could tell the difference between those two things. Novelty Dragon says, sell some Blue Dragon Squad hats. I'd buy one. Oh, Blue Dragon's got to be coming. Any nerds in the audience, tell me if a red dragon breathes fire, what does a blue dragon breathe? There is a correct answer. Anyway, Angie Babe says, by that logic, everyone who stormed the Capitol should have been shot by the police. Strange how the same rules don't apply to them. Exactly, yeah. Was Pete Hegseth saying that they were all asking for it? Seriously, I doubt it. I doubt it. Beating the cop to death with stuff. Anyway, Insane Insanity Dragon says, sometimes I feel like letting the Republicans win for 2 decades and let it all go up in flames, even if we get blamed. I understand that some people do think that. I never have supported, will ever support that strategy because I know what even 4 years of Trump can do, the damage it can do. And if you don't like how difficult the road forward is, making it more difficult is a bad way to solve that problem. But I get the knee-jerk reaction. John J, welcome to Tier 1 YouTube membership. Thank you. Lawrence Wells says, every time Carlson shows his face, he is mooning the audience with said face and is getting paid for it. Can we get Bregman back to trigger him again or make him go on a permanent fishing trip? That was a great moment with Bregman there. A lot of people got it right. It is lightning, actually. The answer is lightning. Okay, over on Twitch, getting a fun fact from Bart. I'll turn to that in just a second. That Cat Dragon subscribed for 3 months. Thank you for that. Says, not sure if this will show up my 3-month streak or say 1 month. You guys aren't the only ones having tech issues. Well, thank you for being here. We got through this show though, thankfully. Laura Philosophizes subscribed for 6 months. Thank you. Ilkek for 4. Malicious Bliss, who has an awesome name, for 3. Says the Turks are my news home. And Postcards from Meh, 3 months. That's a funny name as well. You guys have some great names. Bart says, fun fact, blue dragons have minty fresh breath. That is not canonical. I will not allow it. Okay, with the remaining minutes we have, I wanna remind you, you have asked for more options when it comes to awesome things to sling across your torso. Well, we've got it. The Dragon Squad 2.0 shirt now available in minty fresh green. That is available at Shop TYT, as well as the classic Red Dragon, the Damage Report shirt. We've got masks, tank tops, and hats as well, I believe. and more coming. But remember, you never know how long these are gonna last in the shop. So you may say, well, someday I'll get around to buying the green one, but what if it goes away? How are you gonna feel then? You're gonna feel like a stupid dragon then, aren't you? So definitely get one while you can. And also, like strategically, it sends a very strong signal to the company that they should put more effort into making more of these cool ones. So, if the numbers look really good, maybe we get more cool stuff. Anyway, that's gonna be it for the damage report. But in less than 5 minutes, you can tune into Woznia Lambre with Woznia, available at twitch.tv/TYT. I know a lot of you are already here. Just stick around. If you're watching on YouTube, head over to twitch.tv/TYT. You've seen him on the damage report. You've seen him on the main show. Now see him in his home state of Woznia. Should be a lot of fun coming up with just a few. And until then, stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. We'll see you soon.